Before I start, there are a lot of scenarios when it comes to investing that I can't cover them all today. And so if I do a few examples and I ask you to try it, you might run into a scenario you're like, I don't know what to do in this case, right? So can I just give you the three main ways, the three main scenarios you're going to encounter when it comes to investing and saving? Make sure you listen. The first one is, I have a whole bunch of money. I have like 10 grand sitting in my checking account. I want to invest that and let it sit there. And I'm not going to add to it. I'm not going to take away. It's just going to sit there and it's just going to grow. Okay? That's scenario one. Scenario two, you have nothing in your checking account. You're broke. But you have a job and you want to start saving. So you're going to start from zero. And every month you're going to start adding a little something, or every 2 weeks, however you're going to get paid, right? So you're starting from zero and you're adding and earning interest at the same time. Got it? That's scenario two. Scenario three is a combination of the first two scenarios. You have 10 grand. You're like, here, bank, 10 grand. Plus, I'm going to add another monthly or bi-weekly or whatever amount on a regular basis. That's scenario three, okay? So we're gonna jump between those three. So just remember that. The formula that I gave you today, the compound interest formula, cannot calculate a scenario where you make regular contributions. It cannot. It can only deal with a one-time lump sum deposit, and it sits there and it just grows, okay? So if there are monthly or regular deposits, you have no choice but to use TVM Solver. Okay, so keep that in mind. So TVM Solver, we're going to deal with savings or investing today. The TVM Solver essentially replaces the need to use the compound interest formula. TVM stands for time value money. And you can actually Google TVM Solver and you're going to find a lot of TVM solvers online, but we're going to use our calculator instead. Okay? So why don't we walk through the process of finding our TVM solver app. So you're going to press apps, I should say, find that button. It's right about here. If you look at, it's close to alpha, right? Press that apps button. And then you're going to select finance. You're going to hit enter. And you see TVM Solver right there. Hit enter one more time. And you're always going to see this menu. Okay, and I'm going to explain to you what every single menu stands for. Yeah, let's just go to our notes here and add that. Okay. This is going to get a little busy, okay? So you just got to follow along. I always start here. I'm going to make that note with a red pen. Start here. When I fill in, because you're going to have to fill in these slots, right, in your menu and solve for what is missing. It's basically a solver. It solves questions for you. You just have to plug in the right values. I always start with the CY. What does CY stand for? Compounding periods per year. What was that for us before when we used our formula? N. Is there an N here? You see that big N up there? Not the same N. So that's why I'm going to say don't use the formula anymore to not mix them up, okay? What does PY stand for? Number of payments per year. Number of payments per year. So it's basically if there are no regular payments being made, we're going to highlight this part. If there are no deposits being made on a regular basis, PY is going to be the same as CY. Okay? You're going to have to practice. That's the only way to do it. Future value, right? FV stands for future value. It's how much money you have at the end of the investment or loan. For loans, we're not going to deal with loans just yet, but for loans, future value is going to be 0. Would that make sense? Yeah. If you owe money, don't you want the future value be 0 when you're done? Okay, so keep that in mind. PMT, what does PMT stand for? The value of the regular deposit or payment. If there are no payments, what are you going to set PMT to? 0. Does that make sense? I hope so. PV, right? PV stands for present value. It's the investment or the loan that you start with, right? If there's no initial deposit, PV is equal to 0. Please come back to this screen when you're doing your TVM solver questions and you're stuck, okay? I stands for interest rate as a percent. Do not divide your interest rate by 100. The calculator does that for you. Just enter it exactly the way the question is presenting it to you. Which leads me to the last one, N. The total number of compounding periods or deposits / payments, okay? To get this one right, you always take the time in years and you multiply it by PY. To fill this thing in, you go time in years times PY. And also, this is very important, your calculator is supposed to be set to end. Can you go to your calculator, turn it on real quick? Let's pretend like you don't know how to get here. I'm going to go second mode to quit the main screen. Second mode quits and gets you to the main screen. Then you're going to press Apps, Finance, TVM Solver, hit Enter. So it's basically Apps, Enter, Enter. Make sure for every single question it's always set to end. If yours is set to begin, like if that's highlighted, I want you to go over to end, hit Enter, and then just let it be there, or else you're going to have a slightly different answer. And the province wants everybody to be on end. If you're wondering what is this doing here, it means are you making your payment at the beginning of the period or at the end of that period, right? So that's all. And it makes a slight little bit of a difference, but we don't encounter that. We don't worry about that. Okay, so I know you're a little overwhelmed. Hang in there. Let's go to this part right here. Signs indicate the direction of cash flow. Very important. I'm going to go back one more time here. PV, PMT, and future value, those are dollar amounts. Those are the only $3 amounts in this calculator. And dollar amounts need to have a sign associated with them, either negative or positive. And how do you know what sign to use? If money is leaving you and like you're giving it to the bank, you should have a negative in front of that dollar amount. Okay? So if you're making a deposit, PV should be negative. If you're purchasing or investing, if you're making a payment, anything that goes to the bank, you use a negative symbol. If you're getting money from the bank, you're withdrawing, you're taking, it's time to cash in your investment, then it'll be positive. And this is going to be a bit of a learning curve, but I will show you how to do that. Remember, if it's leaving you, it's negative. If you're getting it, then it's positive. Let's try one. 35. I'm going to skip 35 for now. And the reason, because it's information overload right now. It's TMI, too much information. Let's go to 36. 36, got it? You invest $3,000 in a 5-year GIC with a rate of 4.17% compounded quarterly. Calculate the money of the investment at maturity. And now this is the important part. These entries must be shown, every single one. If you miss one, you lose half a mark. Okay? So I did this for you now, but in the future, it's going to be blank. Even on the exam, it's going to be blank. So you just have to make sure you list them all. You don't have to memorize them. They're exactly in this order in your calculator. Okay? Okay, I start at the bottom. Do we know the compounding periods per year? It's right here. That is CY. What's compounded quarterly? 4 times a year. Quarterly. PY. What is PY going to be? What are we going to set it to? And I'm going to take you back just for 1 second. I'm telling you to come here. If there are no deposits, if there are no regular deposits or payments, then set PY and CY to be the same. Let me ask you this. Is there any mention of a regular deposit that is being made here? Regular payments? No, it doesn't. So we're going to make these two the same. I will say this. PY is equal to CY. Why? Because there's no regular deposits. That's it. Future value. Do we know the future value? We want to know what the future value is, right? So you put a dot here. That's going to be my sign for, that's my question mark. That's what I'm going to solve for. PMT, are there any payments being made on a regular basis? On a regular basis? No. So make that 0. Present value, what would that be? This is PV right here. It's 3,000. Is this money leaving you or coming to you when you're investing it? It's leaving you, right? So what sign should we use? Negative, yeah. It's leaving you. Just for a while. You'll see it again, right? Hopefully. And then interest rate, that one should be very straightforward. I don't think I have to say anything about that. And then N is what? It's always years times whatever PY is. So in this case, we're dealing with 5 years. Sometimes the time is going to be somewhat tricky because they'll say someone starts when they're 18 and they want to go till they're 28. So 10 years went by, so you have to do a little bit of extra work. But it's 5 times 4. 20. So now we're going to solve for the unknown. Okay? So grab your calculators. I'm going to quit this. I'm going to go second mode to go to my home screen. I go apps, enter, enter, and then I type in. If you want to, you can go 5 times 4 in N, and then it will just turn to 20 when you go past it. Hit enter every time you fill this in. For those of you that are new to this calculator, you must use the negative button. This one right here. Don't use take away or subtract. It's going to give you an error. It doesn't like it. So you're going to go negative 3,000. Payment is 0. Future value is what we're going to solve for. In the meantime, I give it a 0. Okay? I just go 0, keep going. This should be 4. If you hit enter, what happens? See why it turns to 4 as well? which is convenient now, but it could bite you if you're not careful. Meaning when they're different, which you will see sometimes CY and PY are different, you got to watch out, okay? Let's go to future value, the one you want to solve. And you're going to press alpha, which is the green button, alpha, and then hit enter. And that's your future value. Alpha, enter, solves. Okay, so we're going to write this down. 3,691.50. That would be a full mark right there. You show me every entry, you put a dollar sign, you have a unit, and you've got 2 decimals, because if it's money, make sure you have 2 decimals. And you circle it. You're like, that's the answer to this question. Yeah. You don't get the same number? You didn't? Did you have negative for 3,000? 417? 20? 4 and 4? No, for N. Julian, you have the same? Oh. Can I come and see you after, or do you? And we'll just see how this changes things. Follow me on the calculator, not on paper right now. I think I need you to just see how to work this thing. What if on top of the $3,000, you put in $100 every month on top of the $3,000? How would these entries change? I'm going to start at the bottom. CY stays the same, right? PY, if I make monthly deposits, what would PY be? 12, right? You can go ahead and change this. Oh, what happened there? Did you see what happened? The 12 changed the 4 to 12 as well. So you got to watch out. Change that back to 4. And then just go up. My future value is going to change, right? I'm going to have more money if I put $100. So I'm going to put a 0 there for now. Let's go to PMT. What would that have to be set to? If I put $100, if I give the bank $100 every month. Negative 100. The 3,000 stays. The interest rate stays. How would N change? 5 times, what is PY? 12, right? So you have to go 5 times 12, which is 60. Let's go and find out how much money we will have now. Alpha, enter. See that? You're going to have $10,000. Let's change this. What if, go to your payment. Now we're going to play around with the payment. What if our payment, if you put $400 away every month? You're going to go negative 400. I'm going to go to future value. And I'm going to go alpha, enter. You're going to have 30 grand sitting there. Okay? Are you catching it somewhat? What if I come along and say, hey, I've got this other investment. They give me 8% interest, not 4.17, 8. Go to interest and change it to 8. We're going to keep the 3,000. We're going to keep the 400. Let's figure out the future value. Alpha, enter. How much will you have now? $33,000, right? So you can do a lot of what ifs. What if you inherit $50,000 from your grandma or grandpa or something. 50,000 to start off. Let's put 50,000 in there. I'm going to go to my future value. I'm going to hit alpha, enter. You're going to have $103,000 and something. Okay, so that's how this works. That's how this works. The 50,000 is negative because you give it to the bank, right? You invest it. Right. So you got to almost think, every time think you and the financial institution. Think of those two entities being here. So the 50,000 goes to them so that it can grow, right? So that's why it's negative. Let me do another what if. You ready? Let's say you want $1 million. You want to have $1 million by the time you turn 40. Imagine you're 20 right now. And by the time you're 40, you want $1 million. How much money do you need to put away every month? How would we do that? What would be put in under future value? 1 million, right? So go 1 followed by 6 zeros. That would be nice to have, right? Let's say you start with nothing. Your present value is 0. You have nothing. And the payment we're going to calculate. So we're going to put a 0 there for now. We're going to keep the 8% interest. How would n change here? What do I need to put into n? From 20 to 40, how many years are we talking about? And I need to multiply that by py. I need to multiply that by py. So 240 payments you will have made. Now let's go to payment and solve it. Let's figure out what would the payment need to be to have that $1 million. So go alpha, enter. You need to put away $1,700 every month to make that happen. It's a lot, right? Hold it. What if you say, okay, scrap that, I can't achieve that. What if I start at 20 and I go till I'm 60? I have 40 years now to come up with $1 million. How would things change? Let's turn payment into 0. N would be what? 40 times 12. 40 times 12. You go to payment, alpha, enter. Can you do 290 a month? 290 isn't bad, right? To have $1 million by the time you're 60. So those are the things that we're going to do with the TVM solver. It's a very powerful tool, okay? It's a very powerful tool. You can actually like plan for the future if you know how to use this. So I went back and forth a lot. What's our time? 3:15. I'm going to introduce formulas now to you, okay? And some functions of TVM solver. So we're going to go back to 35. I know I'm front loading a lot. I know. You're probably a little overwhelmed. But that's going to be our journey next week, is going to be figuring out how to use the TVM solver. Go to 35. This is specifically with regards to investments. When it comes to finance functions, I want you to be able to use balance, and I want you to use the interest function. What does balance do? Guys, these are like apps that TVM has available to you. So what does balance need? It needs you to enter the years and multiply it by PY. And what will it do? It will return the value of the investment after a certain time. Okay? Remember, balance. So it will tell you, hey, how much would I have like 10 years into this investment? How much would I have 13 years into this investment? You can ask that, and balance will give you that number. Okay? I'm going to ask you to ignore this one. I don't want you to use that one because it causes confusion, so just cancel it out. And then the other function I want you to be able to use is sum of interest. That's the sigma notation, by the way, and it means add up. Yeah, sigma. Still a thing, right? It will add up, guys, it will add up all the interest that you've earned, and it will give you that, okay? So it will return the amount of interest earned within a time frame. In general, you want to use sum of interest. You want to call it, start with a 1, and then go to years times PY. Very useful when calculating interest earned. Okay. And if you have some colors, I'm going to add a bunch of colors here. I need you to understand this graph right here. If you take the one-time large deposit you make, okay, if you take that and you make a whole bunch of regular payments on top of that, okay, that is called the principal, guys, like principal. Large deposit in TVM solver world is PV, present value. Regular deposits, how would you figure out how many regular deposits, how much money you've put in? You take N and you multiply it by whatever PMT is. That's how you figure out this portion. And those two portions combined, sometimes there is no large deposit, sometimes there are no payments, but regardless, these two combined give you the principal. The principal is how much you have contributed from your own money, okay? The interest is whatever is on top. That's what the bank gave you. That is the earnings, okay? So if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to draw your attention. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I need you to understand this part. The principal, guys, these two boxes right here is PV plus NPMT. So I'm going to use the same color I have for PV and highlight it green. The bottom of your sheet there, that's the principal formula. Like, that's to figure out how much you've invested. And I'm going to give the NPMT the orange color. That is a formula that I would say you should definitely have on your study sheet. Okay, so principal, that's the formula. Interest is basically, yeah, you're going to figure out how much you've earned in terms of interest. And watch what balance does. Like there's sum of interest and there's balance right here. What do those functions do? Sum of interest literally figures out how much interest you've earned along the way or in total. Like it can actually figure out interest earned at any given time. Balance essentially will tell you if you stack what you put in at the beginning, the deposits you've made, and the interest, balance will give you that. Okay, it'll stack all these three boxes. It's like this is how much you have right now in your account. Okay, you can make predictions with it, and it's very beneficial. To figure out how much interest you've earned, you can use the function here, or you can use the formula. Okay, you can use this formula. So this is another formula that I'm going to ask you to highlight that. I'm using the same color that I highlighted the box for interest. Okay, and so basically it's future value minus present value minus n times PMT. So you're taking away the box, the green one that I had in the diagram, and you're taking away what you've contributed monthly or on a regular basis. Okay. So if you want the total interest, if you want that, you need to take all of it, this whole thing, and take away the large deposit and any small deposits you've made. Also on your study sheet. That's your homework. If all else doesn't make it there, you make sure you put that on there. And I will say this, or use sum of interest. And you're going to go from 1 to years times PY. Formulas must be used if n is not a whole number. Okay, highlight that part as well. So I hope this, go back to this page whenever you're not sure what to do, okay? All right. I just want to go back to 36, and we're just going to try this one more time. And then I'm going to let you go. This is your get out of jail example, okay? You just hang in there with me. Can you really quickly go to your TVM solver? We still have a couple minutes, so don't pack away just yet. You're going to go apps, enter, enter. Change it back to what we had here, 20. 4.17, negative 3,000, 0, 0, 4, and 4. Then go back to your future value and let's solve for it. Let's solve it. Alpha, enter. Does it make sense that it's positive in the future? Because then it's coming to you. That's the assumption. Okay? Yeah. Watch this. B here. Calculate how much interest did you earn. Can you use two methods? I will do option 1, my favorite. I'm going to go sum of interest from the very first payment to, or period I should say. How many years have gone by? 5 years, right? 5 years have gone by, so it's 5 times whatever PY is. Remember, it's years times PY. So in a sense, it's sum of interest 1 to 20. How do you use that function? I need you to look up here for this. You got to go quit this screen, go to your home screen, second Mode, you got to quit it. Then you got to go apps again. Apps, finance, but don't hit enter on TVM solver. You want to go all the way down till you get to the sum of interest option. At the very bottom, right? You see that sum of interest? Hit enter. Then you're going to go 1, comma, 20. You got to use the comma button. And hit enter. It's 691.50. Does it make sense? Can I address, if there's any issues, I'll address it after. I just want to finish this thing. Hold on. This is the one I forget to address and it throws students off. Does it make sense that this answer is positive? Where did the interest go? It came from the bank to us. So it's positive. It makes sense. Because when you're doing loans, it's going to be negative. Another thing I want to ask you, does it make sense that it's 691, the interest that you've earned? If you look at this, right? It's very obvious in this case. So I like that. I like this function a lot. Option 2. Make sure you know how to do option 2. Total interest is future value minus present value minus, are there any payments? Because it's n times PMT. I don't know if you're looking at the formula right now. Looking at the formula, there are no payments, right? So it's just that. So it's 691.50. So regardless of which method you used, you get the same answer. But before you pack, the formula only helps you to find out the total interest for the entire investment. It will not tell you, like I could have asked you, how much interest will you have earned after the first year? Just the first year. Then you would go 1 times 4 and be able to figure out the interest for just that first year, okay? So sum of interest is much more useful than this formula right here. I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to post 40, page 40. No, I'm lying to you here. Yeah, 40. 40 to 44. I want you to try to at least use the TVM solver. How do you start it off? Like, what are the entries that you're putting in? Okay?